at WL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the country. Now, you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They don't care. They don't read any of the comments. They say this all the time. They talk down to us. They say that we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube or Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing that you've ever heard, then also please definitely let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and it's really turning into something special. And I really would love to have you part of it. I really want to build something that we can all feel so proud to be part of. Something that we all really genuinely feel connected to, that we're excited to, say we're part of. And I really think we can do it. And I think we're well on our way to actually doing it. I see this channel just as much as mine as it is yours. So please definitely consider subscribing. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about how Bill Belichick is officially leaving the Patriots after 24 seasons. I think it's obviously a good move. I think that Bill Belichick, okay, I have a lot of issues with Bill Belichick for just many reasons, just his personality, but I'm not even going to talk about that, right? I'm not even going to get into that aspect of it, but I think moving on from Bill is the way to go, without a doubt. And if I was another team, I would not want Bill Belichick. I just would not. The only way I would is if I had a great up-and-coming offensive coordinator. Then I would consider it, because if I'm saying, okay, you know what, this guy is really great, and but at the same time, if that offensive coordinator is really that great, then you're going to lose him. So you might as well hire him as your head coach, and because you're not going to fire Bill after like 2 years or something just to keep the offensive coordinator. So I just do not have trust that if Bill Belichick is going to be able to build an offense and build a defense simultaneously. Yes, he's a great defensive head coach without a doubt. It's 2024 in the NFL. It's offense, 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 offense. That just is what it is. And if you have and you need to have a great quarterback to win in the NFL. And if you have a great quarterback, then you want a great offensive coach to be able to unlock that quarterback and to maximize that quarterback's potential. And if you don't have an elite quarterback, you need to be able to find an elite quarterback. And if you end up finding an elite quarterback in the draft or wherever, and then you need to develop him. And Bill Belichick is not the guy, and Bill Belichick is not the guy to get, to build the right coaching staff to be able to do so. And again, anyone that is good enough to do that, say like an offensive coordinator or quarterback's coach or whatever, you will only have that coach if he is that good for a couple years, and then they will move on and get a head coaching job of themselves. So that is the huge risk. The only way a Bill Belichick works is if your offense is just locked and loaded and you have this elite established quarterback who doesn't need any, kinks worked out, that he's just been elite, staying elite, and, you're good to go, which I'm not really sure of any quarterback that exists. Like even Patrick Mahomes still needs Andy Reid to, to really help him through things. That's just a, reality. And so I'm just not seeing where a Bill Belichick can just magically step in and just now like everything is all great and dandy. So you're either going to need to develop a new quarterback, which he's already proven that he can't do, or you're going to need to rebuild an offense, which he's already proven that he can't do, or he needs to sustain an already good enough offense who now they're just firing their head coach, which I'm not so sure that there's, please, if you know a team that's like that, let me know, because I don't know what quarterback or what team has that. Any team that has a defensive head coach or has fired their head coach, their offense is not that good, So I just don't know why you would then go and hire a defensive head coach. And if you just fired a defensive head coach, why would you then go hire another defensive head coach? You're just going to be getting the same thing. So if you're the Chargers, why would you now go do that? If you are the Titans, why would you go and do that? It doesn't make sense to me at all.
Bill Belichick leaving the Patriots, team I refer to as America's team, after a 24-year run of dominance. Not all 24 years, but,
Mostly.
6 Super Bowls. He read a prepared statement today. Take a listen.
Good morning. Seen this many cameras since we signed Tebow. Robert and I, after a series of discussions, have mutually agreed to part ways. And for me, this is a day of gratitude and celebration. So many fond memories and thoughts that I think about the Patriots, and I'll always be a Patriot. I look forward to coming back here, but at this time, we're gonna move on, and I look forward, I'm excited for the future, but always very, very appreciative of the opportunity here, the support here, and what Robert, what you've done for me. Thank you.
Shaking hands.
Move on. That's a lot. That always be a Patriot thing. It's kind of hard. That one hit hard.
Yeah.
Usually these are my cool sunglasses. Not always. Brew, your reaction.
Well, look, you guys know.
I did get a little.
All season long.
I knew it. He was going to cry. Why was he going to
He
cry?
got you with the always a Patriot.
Yeah.
All season long, even when Wilds, and this is odd that you're so shaken up because you were calling for his head earlier in the season.
Well, in theory,
you were right
when
there.
it actually happens.
You were right there. And I've been saying all year, you can't fire Bill Belichick. He's just too much of a legend. I'm sorry. Now, maybe if new ownership came in and it's a whole new regime, like Jerry Jones did with Tom Landry, even that was cold-blooded. It would be, you just can't fire him. And yet, and I think I disagree with you guys on this, yet it was definitely, unequivocally time to go. I don't want to see another game of Belichick in New England, let alone another season. I mean, I just felt like, look, it's over. He is not going to win there anymore. And so how do you handle it when you can't fire him, but it's time to go? And I got to be honest, I think they did a great job of handling
That's what I
this.
was wondering.
They did a fantastic,
I agree.
What could have become a very ugly situation, I thought they handled well, and it came off classy. I love Belichick saying, I'll always be a Patriot. So it won't be a Jerry Jones, Jimmy Johnson thing. This is going to be fine. Whenever he retires, he'll come back to Fox.
Well, he played for, he was there for so much longer, and it was this, they've had, this insane success, and, Robert Kraft, doesn't have as big of an ego as maybe, say, a Jerry Jones, so, that's no surprise there. It's also just a different time, you're talking about comparing something that was happening in the 90s, compared to in the 2024, it's may as well, it's literally a whole generation difference. So I don't think you need to compare those two things. Also, you learned from that situation, and if you are Bill, again, Bill is not an idiot, and so he knows he's not going to want to leave on this like completely negative, sour note and be bitter. He knows that it's better to leave positively and still connected to the Patriots, and he has amazing memories there, and he's had obviously amazing success there. And if he left there, in this like big negative light, then it would tarnish his legacy, and you're just not going to do that. Also, he still wants to coach in the NFL, and he has, family that still wants to coach in the NFL. So he's going to, he's going to do the right thing in that regard. But isn't it funny how all of a sudden, you can suddenly now wear a suit and you can suddenly actually like speak in complete sentences and not mumble, right? All of a sudden you're more than capable of being able to talk and actually be clear and enunciate and not just go. That's what I hate more about Bill Belichick than anything else. And I hate that the NFL allowed it to happen. Like doing press conferences, having those conversations, that is part of the job. That is what helps build the NFL into a massive entertainment company. If it was just about the games and nothing else, and it was just about those 3 hours on Thursday, Sunday, Monday, then there would be no shows like this. There would be no press conferences, there would be no newspapers, there would be no radio, there would be no nothing. But so it's all part of it, right? It's the WWE, right? It's the before the fight and after the fight and just talking in the ring and pointing to the crowd and yelling at each other. It's all part of it. So the fact that he then just was like, I'm not going to take part in that, to me, I think is just disrespectful to the product of the NFL and disrespectful to the fans more than anything else, because the fans want to hear from their head coach, and the fans want to hear from someone who's supposed to be one of the greatest head coaches ever. So that's what I always have taken issue with him. But you know what? The NFL enabled it. The NFL should have been able to step in and said, Bill, you need to talk. You need to not be so combative with the media. Answer the questions. Don't just constantly say, oh, we're looking over in next week. Well, I'm just worried about the Jets right now. Oh, I'm just worried about the Jets right now. Because that's BS. That's nonsense. And the truth is that his game and his life within the NFL did not age gracefully. It just didn't. And you know what? Maybe it's very difficult for it to age gracefully, right? Maybe when you have that much levels of success, it's very difficult. Even Jeff Bezos, at one point the richest man in the world, one of the most powerful men in the world, still divorced his wife, right? Like he could have everything, right? Deliver happiness, right? You could literally have everything, literally created one of the most profound companies in the history of the galaxy, and yet got a divorce, And so I just think that it's difficult to have it all. It's difficult. Tom Brady, look at Tom Brady, right? He did not ride off into the sunset as beautifully as one would have maybe thought or hoped, right? He didn't win that Super Bowl at the very end of his career, in his final season. He didn't ride off into the sunset, unfortunately, with his wife, Giselle, his ex-wife now, And so I think that's just what happens. I think, we're kind of conditioned in a lot of ways when we watch these movies and TV shows that everything just kind of like works out, or, you really highlight the stories of, say, like a Peyton Manning winning the Super Bowl. But it's not like Peyton Manning, like real, right? Like no one really sees him as really the sole reason why they won that Super Bowl. I mean, he didn't even play that full season. And then in the Super Bowl itself, I mean, like it looked like he couldn't even throw the ball anymore, right? It was just pretty much like, defense, please win this for us. And that's really what happened, honestly. So I just think it's, always difficult to just end things on this beautiful, super high note. Again, Tom Brady retired, and then he came back, and then he gave his and then his actual official retirement was like on his cell phone while he was like sitting outside, like super weird stuff when you think about it, right? When someone is like the GOAT, like Tom Brady, you're expecting, a buttoned up press conference saying, all right, I'm hanging it up, I'm retiring, this, that, and the third, and me and Giselle, we're going to, enter the next stage of our lives together. That's not what happened, It just ended, pretty sad, unfortunately. I'm sure, he's, doing whatever he's doing right now in terms of his personal life, that is. But still, definitely not as he wrote it up. And I think a lot of the same things is happening with Bill. You do have to sacrifice a lot to be great. And I think when you're not winning, you have a lot of your issues and a lot of the bad things that they get overlooked or they get swept under the rug because you're winning, right? You have that stereotypical CEO who is the biggest jerk, but you know what? He's leading this company to, a $8 billion valuation. And so it's just like, how can we tell him what he's doing is wrong, right? He's maximizing profits and, doing this and doing that and making deals and traveling all over the world, shaking hands. And you're just like, you just have to put up with it. But the moment that sales go down, or the moment that there's some sort of questionable, issue or scandal, it's like, oh, get him out of here, right? And it's like no one's coming to bat for you. And I think that's a lot of the things that happened with Bill Belichick, is that he pushed people the wrong way, rubbed people the wrong way for years and years and years. And when he was winning, it was like, well, what are we supposed to say? We're winning. Who are we to say what he's doing is wrong? And the thing is that we then say, though, that they're winning because of his personality and because of who he is. And I go back and forth on that. That may or may not be true. Could he have won and been just as successful and not been exactly who Bill Belichick is? I don't know, honestly. I really don't. Like I said, I go back and forth with that idea of Bill, and it's not to say that I just, my big issue with Bill is just him being like a nicer person. It's the way he also conducted business. It's the way he grew his team. It's the way how he's, got Bill O'Brien to be the offensive coordinator, the way how he got Matt Patricia to be the offensive coordinator, right? Like, so I'm not even talking about him now just being, grumpy or whatever. I'm talking about like how he actually like ran the team and the personnel and all of that. And that when you don't have a quarterback like a Tom Brady or just an elite quarterback, your flaws get highlighted. And in a lot of ways, I think of it kind of like dating. When you're in a relationship with someone, you're in a relationship with someone who hopefully you're in a relationship with someone and they accept you for who you are. They accept you for not being perfect, because who is perfect, right? Perfect doesn't exist. And sometimes you take that for granted. Sometimes you think that just because this person accepts me for who I am, that there's plenty of people out there who will accept me for who I am. So you take that relationship for granted. And little by little, you start to not treat it as special. And the gratitude becomes less and less and less. And then you push that person away. And then you break up. And that can obviously be a very sad thing that either happens, or maybe you're just still so much lost up in your own mind where you're like, nah, I'm good. And then you go out there and you try to date and you're like, wow, a lot of people are rejecting me. That person who actually really accepted me for who I am was more the exception to the rule than the norm. And it's like, wow, maybe I do need to like work on myself a little bit more, right? So it's just one of those things that's what I see that has really been emphasized and highlighted with a Bill Belichick. And it's kind of humbling in a lot of ways, because in this weird way, and I don't try to take solace in anyone's struggles or issues, but I also don't feel too bad for Bill Belichick, because the guy has made a gajillion dollars and has way more opportunity than little old me will ever have in my life. So it's like, I'm not like punching down here, but it is one of those things where you go, wow, here are these peoples like the Tom Brady, like, Bill Belichick, who have reached such high levels of success, right? And yet they still fail at either that said craft, that said thing that they succeeded so highly at, and then also their personal life as well. So I think to myself, well, what type of expectations should I set for myself, right? I'm nowhere near as good at anything than Tom Brady or Bill Belichick are at something. So am I expected to have a better win-loss record at whatever I'm talking about in life, whether it's YouTube, whether it's, again, I don't know, whatever it is. Like, how can I expect to be, I'm going to have a better, hit rate than Tom Brady and Bill Belichick? No. Or I'm supposed to expect myself to be like super successful and have a perfect home life, like these other people couldn't do it, So it's just one of those things where in a lot of ways I find it kind of humbling and also enlightening to just be like, okay, it can kind of put things into perspective. But, when Belichick says that this is a day of gratitude and celebration, yeah, I wonder. I think now that he's leaving, I think there's that remorse and that I don't think it's gratitude and celebration. I think it's gratitude and remorse. It's gratitude of, man, I had this for 24 seasons and now I'm not going to have it. This was my home. This was my office. I owned this place. Now I have to go back out into the world, right? Now I have to go back out and start dating again. And it's going to be uncomfortable, and I'm not going to have the same level of support that I maybe had before. And, it's just going to be different. And so now when you're looking back, you're like, oh God, I had it so much better than I even realized. Why didn't I take this more seriously? Why did I think I could get away with hiring Matt Patricia as an offensive coordinator? Why did I think that was a good idea? Why did I just go get O'Brien? Why didn't I try to get someone who is really innovative and a great OC? What am I doing? Why did I think that I could just, trot out, Bailey Zappi, like why? And so that's what I think is kind of going through Bill Belichick's head. And if it's not, then he has one of the most gigantic egos in the history of the world. And I don't know what organization would want to then move forward with that, because that is a scary process, because his better years are clearly behind him. So I don't know, but those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts. What do you think should happen to Bill? Do you think it was time for him to leave the Patriots? Do you think none of this was really his fault, that he just didn't have good quarterbacks? Do you think, any team should sign him? And if so, which teams do you think would want to have Bill Belichick as their head coach? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts, and please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please do give this video a thumbs up. It really, really helps with the visibility and the algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.